Hi, my name is Caity. I've been on a GLP-1 since April 2024. It is now August 2025 at the time of filming. I'm currently on the 2.4 milligram dose of wegovy, and I've been on wegovy this entire time. I haven't switched or gone to anything else. I was on metformin with the wegovy for a little bit, and that I think made my side effects a lot worse, so I stopped taking metformin. But this video is about the things I wish that I knew before I'd started this. Now, of course, when I got it prescribed, I had done some research and knew that it could cause some gastro side effects and things like that. However, now that I know what I know, I would have probably gone about things a little bit differently. So this is that. Here's my list. I will be reading off of this. You can't even see it because my light is so bright. There we go. So anyway, without further ado, here are tips that I think you should know if you are going to be going on semaglutide, specifically wegovy. I can't speak on any of the other ones, although I think the side effects are relatively the same across the board. I only have experience with the one. So first things first is not everyone responds to the first dose. I did respond to the first dose, but I had done some research on it, and I knew that more than likely I wasn't going to. I don't know why I responded to the first dose the way that I did. I lost 13 pounds that first month. I was really, really sick though. I had very, very intense and unsustainable side effects when I first started. So, it can be different for everybody, but I have read a lot of success stories from people who didn't start noticing a difference until they were all the way up to the 1.7 and 2.4 doses. So go into it expecting nothing, and I think that will help make the journey a little bit easier. Number 2 is Zofran, mint, and ginger. So I know not everybody will get nauseous. I know not everybody will throw up. I threw up twice. I was nauseous for months. The night that I threw up the first time, I got my phone out as I'm hanging over the toilet, trying not to die. I think that might have been the worst time I've ever had throwing up, because I had norovirus a few months after that happened, and yeah, that was terrible, but when I threw up on wegovy, it burst open blood vessels in my face because I was just heaving and not breathing, and it just blew up my face. I've posted the picture before in some other videos, but I'll show it again here. It looked like I had freckles. It was honestly kind of a sleigh for a minute, but still don't recommend. So while I'm over the toilet dry heaving, trying not to die, I am on my patient portal thing for my doctor, and I'm please send me in a prescription for Zofran. She sent it in and I got it the next day, but I wish that I had it before I even did my shot. Now, for me, I did my shot and I didn't get hit with that nausea for 2 or 3 days. So the first day was fine, the second day was fine, the third and fourth day I was really, really sick. And I think it happened again a few weeks later. I don't know exactly the time frame. There's the only 2 times that I threw up though, and that is 100% because of the Zofran. The other things that I would do is I got pregnancy pops, they're little cough drop looking things that are ginger and vitamin B. Those would help me, and peppermint tea and peppermint oil. I would rub peppermint oil on my wrist and just smell it and kind of lay down and try and breathe through it, and that did get me through a few times without taking Zofran. Now the only time I get nauseous is if I eat too much or eat a lot of greasy food, fast food, which I'm staying away from 9 times out of 10. But we had a little mini vacation sort of thing last week. Sorry, my dog, you're gonna have to ignore that. I ate some pizza along with breadsticks and a salad, and if I didn't have my Zofran that day, I would have thrown up for sure. So just keep the prescription, and even if you don't need it, it's great to have for the future. Number 3 is hydration. So I noticed that my side effects get a lot worse when I'm dehydrated. That includes the nausea, that includes the fatigue. Right now, I've been on it for so long, I'm not really experiencing too many side effects other than the random gagging, which I still don't know if that's just a unique experience to me. I have never seen anyone else say anything about having that, and my doctors are I don't know what could be causing that. So I don't know, I'm randomly gagging all the time. If you are too, let me know, because help, I can't get it to stop. But anyway, hydration. I drink 2 to 3 of these a day. I don't know how many ounces they are. And I try and also eat foods that have like water in them. I don't know how much that actually helps. Number 4 would be caffeine. So if you're anything like me, you're gonna get a really weird random aversion to coffee for some reason. Like coffee was making me so sick. Now it's not anymore. I can have coffee again, but there was a long time there where I couldn't have anything. So I would have just straight up black tea, like nothing added, nothing in it, and that helped. But what I've found really helped is electrolyte powder that has caffeine in it. I just get the Great Value brand from Walmart. You can get whatever brand that you want. I'm sure Great Value isn't the best, but like it's what I can afford, so that's what I do. And it also helps with staying hydrated, and I find that those little packets really do work. They have brought me back to life when I am like struggling to stay awake, which definitely does happen. It still happens, but not as bad as it did in the beginning. I just remember being so exhausted, so tired, like no energy, unable to work out, unable to do like anything. And those little electrolyte powder packets with caffeine really, really helped me. So 10 out of 10 recommend. I'm sure, like I said, they're not the best for you, but like, you know, you gotta work with what you got. So number 5 is, it isn't a magic weight loss drug. It definitely helps. Like it's still hard. It's just hard in different ways than like doing weight loss. Like, I was gonna say raw dogging weight loss, but I feel like that's inappropriate. Plateaus will still happen, just like any other weight loss journey, plateaus will happen. I had like 3 or 4 pretty significantly long plateaus before I would like suddenly drop like 7 to 10 pounds and then be stuck in another plateau and then drop another 7 to 10 pounds. So I still lost the weight really fast, but it wasn't like 2 pounds a week like is recommended. It was like 0 pounds a week and then 10 pounds in 2 weeks and then 0 pounds a week and then like 8 pounds in 2 weeks. It was really, really weird, and I'm still going through it. I still have a little bit more left to lose. Nowhere near what I did at the beginning. But plateaus still happen. You still have to work hard to make sure you're getting enough protein. You still have to work hard to make sure you're getting enough fiber, because otherwise you'll get constipated. And I am an IBS girly, and I would rather have IBS than be constipated. It is so painful and like not fun at all. So Metamucil is a good one to just drink every day. It's disgusting and I hate it, but I just mix it with like a little bit of water and just do it like a shot, like chase it, like for real. I hate that stuff, but it works. And then also Miralax, if it's getting to a point where you're like, okay, I have to go now. Miralax has worked for me. I've yet to have to take like an actual laxative or like do an enema or anything. So, you know, just watch out for constipation. And also Zofran can cause constipation too. So, you know, if you do get a Zofran prescription, just make sure you're not like eating it like candy, you know, take it as prescribed. Number 6 is avoid increasing the dose if it's working and if your insurance will allow you to do that. The only time that I stayed on a dose for longer than 4 weeks was in the very beginning on the 0.25 dose. I stayed on that one for 8 weeks because I was so sick. My doctor didn't want to increase my dose because I was just nauseous and vomiting. The only reason I was losing weight is because I was sick. It had nothing to do with like the actual effects of the drug, like affecting my digestion and like brain and whatever, and you know, all of that. I stayed on it for an extra 4 weeks. At that point, at the end of the 8-week mark, I was ready to go up. I was feeling like it was a little bit less effective. But then when you get on like the 0.5 dose, I kind of wish that I had stayed on that a little bit longer because, like I said, you get these plateaus and you start thinking, do I need to go up a dose? And you're already at 2.4 and there's nowhere you can go from there. And I've read a few success stories of people switching to like Zepbound after that happens. For me, that wasn't really an option, and I was stuck at like 143 for so long. It turned out that that was actually my fault for injecting in the same spot every week. I would switch legs, but I'll get to that in a minute because that's like number 9 on the list. But just stay on your dose. If it's working for you, stay on it until it doesn't work anymore, and that's if insurance will let you. I know like sometimes they make you increase the way that the wegovy manufacturer people say to, so I would just recommend like stay on it if it's working. There's no reason to really go up if it's working, and then you can also like get used to the side effects a little bit more instead of every 4 weeks having to like re-experience all the side effects over again because you've gone up a dose. Number 7, I kind of already mentioned this because we had that little mini vacation and I had pizza, but no fatty foods or greasy foods or alcohol unless you want to throw up. Now for me, I can drink like alcohol, fine, but the next day it's like 10 times worse than any hangover I've ever had in my life. So 10 out of 10, just don't recommend drinking. Now, I will still have a glass of wine or two, but even one glass of wine the next day, I feel like shit. So I would just abstain from drinking completely, especially if you're on a weight loss journey, it's not gonna help. And then greasy foods, fatty foods, those are the 2 things that make me the sickest. I try and eat kind of like a Whole30 kind of situation. I focus a lot on protein and fiber, of course, and like I stay low carb because I have PCOS and I've just struggled with my insulin for years now, and low carb is, you know, the most beneficial for me for my insulin problems. Right now everything's normal, so that's great. Number 8 kind of has to do with like when you do your shot. I know people get nervous that it's gonna hurt and things like that. When you do your rubbing alcohol, wait for it to dry, because otherwise you're injecting wet rubbing alcohol into your body and it burns. It feels like fire, and you have to hold the pen there until it's done, and that, like, your instinct is to stop the pen, but if you take away the pen, it'll keep going, and then you've wasted the medication, which is okay. I've seen people do that. I've yet to do it, knock on wood, but you just do another dose the next week and it'll be okay. The other thing that I would do, that I do now that I didn't do at first, is I take the shot out of the fridge for like 2 hours before I'm gonna do my shot, because getting it up to room temperature helps with like the weird burning feeling that you get. Even if you wait for your rubbing alcohol to dry, like it'll still burn if it's cold. You know, you're like shooting cold stuff into your body and it's not gonna feel good. So let it sit out and then make sure that your rubbing alcohol is completely dry, and it takes longer than you would think sometimes. Number 9 is to change shot locations. So where I messed up when I was in this super duper long plateau, like months, it was awful. I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. I started to feel like the effects weren't as good. I started to get food noise again. I started to feel a little bit like snackier and more like I was not staying full for as long. I started to feel like it wasn't working, and at that point I was considering trying to switch to something else. And I found like a random Reddit post that said just try it in a different location, because you can get this like I forget what it's called. I'll put it on the screen. I have talked about it before, but it's where the fat, like where you do your shot, actually can break down, and it happens with people who take insulin too, and probably like anything that goes into the fat, I'm assuming. But the fat breaks down, and then the medication is actually absorbed through the fat, and if there's not really enough fat right there, you're not going to get the effects of the medication. So I decided, like, okay, what can it hurt? And I did it on my arm, and I, up until that point, had been doing either thigh in the same regions. I wasn't switching like spots on my thighs. I was just doing them in the same spots every time, just switching thighs because I thought that would be good enough. And it was good enough for about a year before this plateau happened, and nothing I was doing was working to fix it. So anyway, I do it in my arm, and all of a sudden, like, I'm fine, and I feel the effects again. I started getting sick when I was drinking coffee again. I had to quit coffee again, which, like, it's the one thing that I'm never gonna quit, okay? I will fight to have my coffee. But yeah, switching locations, that's all it took. It's all it took, and I felt so stupid and so just like run down and upset about it because it was all my fault that it wasn't working. Those are all of the things that I wish I had known about wegovy before I started, and what I would hope to pass that knowledge on to somebody who maybe isn't sure if they want to start or anything like that. My story is not a horror story. I actually have had a pretty good experience on wegovy this entire time. I haven't had any issues with it really, other than the nausea in the beginning and the fatigue. I know some people get really bad depression. I know that like for some people it's just not sustainable, and if that's the case, obviously don't take it. But I feel like we see enough bad stories, and I would like to share my good positive experience with it. It just took a few months to get there. You definitely kind of have to write it out at first, at least if you respond to it in the same way that I do. Everybody's different. I also have PCOS, and I had insulin resistance at the time that I started it. I still have PCOS, but I no longer am considered insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. My PCOS symptoms have gotten so much better. I still have fatigue, pretty bad, especially right before my period. And I still have hair loss, which is another PCOS symptom. but I'm not really experiencing any other symptoms of PCOS right now, whereas before I had like everything, and now it's like way more manageable and easy to live with. So those are the two things that wegovy has really done for me, and it's brought me back to like a place of really good mental health. I have never been so like mentally sane and like mentally just like not spiraling all the time in my life. Like I've always struggled, and I think a lot of that was poor body image. And now that I'm not so like hateful towards myself and my body, and I, you know, just feel better about myself, I think it's been a lot easier for like everything else to kind of fall into place along with that. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm gonna wrap that up here. I don't know what video I'm gonna be making next. I just hope that this was helpful to anybody who is about to start a GLP-1. Maybe you just did your first shot, whatever. If you have PCOS, maybe this will like, maybe you can relate to this a little bit more. It really helped my PCOS. I highly recommend it to anyone who has PCOS. But this isn't just for people who have PCOS, this is for everybody. And I'll leave you with like, don't focus on a deadline. Don't be like, I have to lose this much per month. I have to lose this much in a year. Just kind of write it out and just see where it goes. Because I was pretty focused on being at the weight that I'm at now. I wanted to be this weight in December of last year. That would have been pretty rapid, and now I have loose skin, and the loose skin would have been even worse if I had lost it any quicker, and it was because of these like plateaus that I had. But like, I'm glad that it has turned out the way that it has. I believe that it has turned out the way that it was supposed to, and I think that that's gonna be the case for everybody. Like, even if it doesn't work for you, like you're gonna find something else that does. I fully believe like it's all gonna be how it was meant to be, and you just kind of have to put your faith in the universe there. So yeah, that is all. I'm gonna go. Bye.